I'm going to just tell you, they looked old. I mean, I saw an athletic Sacramento team that just looked faster, more athletic, facing the old core of the Warriors, and they weren't afraid, and they just came out, punched them right in the mouth from the beginning, and said, we remember what happened last year on our home floor, Game 7. It's not going to happen today, and this probably is the last time we'll see this Warriors core together.
Yep.
I mean, maybe they can make it work just to keep some loyalty within the franchise, but, you know, as constructed, the Warriors are not a contender. And moving forward, I really don't see how they get better with their young pieces or trades or, you know, I don't know if there's a trade out there they can get for another superstar or all-star, but they looked old, they looked defeated, and I saw it in Klay's eyes. I mean, it looked like it was wearing on him that, you know, this is the end of an era, this is, you know, things wasn't going his way, he couldn't make shots, and he was getting cooked on the other end of the court, and so I feel bad that if they break up, but it was a great run by the Warriors. My hat's off to everything they accomplished because I don't think we're going to see this core after this year. I mean, this was the last that we saw them.
So you thought it was a pretty sad night for them?
I mean, I thought it was sad because this is the end of a dynasty. Yeah. You know, this is the end of an era. And I said, if the Warriors don't make the playoffs, this is the end of the era for them. There will be no more contending. I see no real upside. Kuminga's a good player, but he's not the superstar. He's not going to turn into the superstar overnight next year that they're going to need to contend.
The old part, for sure. The Kings had way more juice. For whatever reason, they just had more juice.
They did.
Than the Warriors.
They're younger.
You know, and when you look at the Warriors, literally everybody in their starting five was in the minus category. Like literally everybody, right? It's well noted that Klay didn't shoot the ball well. It's first time in his career that he's ever been in this position where he has scored less than 4 points, including the playoffs. First time. So I'm sure things was going through his mind when the little easy stuff wasn't even falling.
Yeah.
That's just normal, I'm open, boom. And on top of that, all night long, the Kings made the decision, and hats off to Coach Brown for dialing it up and saying, he's not going to beat us, number 30. You chase him wherever he goes, over, under, whatever. If we got to go under screens, over screens, whatever, stay right there with him and make him give that ball up to somebody else. Don't allow him to shoot it. And that's what they did. They harassed him. They never allowed Curry to get going.
No.
They refused to let him get going. So I think that was one of the main keys to their victory, is to stop him from getting going, because once he gets hot, then all of a sudden, everybody else starts to want to cook too. So they negated all of that sort of thing. And I don't know, Paul, if this is the end of the Warriors as we see it. It may feel that way because of the contract situation, but clearly they want to keep Klay at a different number, okay? They want to keep him at a different number. Think about it. Guys like y'all die with organizations when you've been the face of an organization for so long.
Only a couple guys.
No, but
Kobe, Dirk, Duncan. They traded Shaq.
Yeah, but Shaq never really. Shaq was in Orlando to start with. Then he came to the Lakers. So I can see him move around. I'm talking about guys from start to finish. Yeah. I'm talking about just that they don't.
Curry is one of them guys. I don't see this with the rest of them though.
Yeah, I think you let them ride it out. No, we're only talking about 1 or 2 more years.
They're not good enough to justify a huge tax bill. The core just isn't good enough. So
that's why you take less money, so we don't have these tax issues.
Well, okay, so in order to do that, you got to let CP walk. They're going to have to let CP walk. And then you're going to have to probably try to find a shorter deal for Klay, because you don't want to pay for a core that's paying so much money over the tax for a team that's going to the play-in.
Yeah,
I don't know what that number gonna be for Klay.
Well, they already offered. They offered him 2 years, $48 million. He turned that down. So I don't know if that dropped.
When did they offer that to him?
Last off season.
So last off season. Yeah. So okay, so let's say that's still on the table. That might still be on the table somewhere in that stratosphere, though, Skip.
Yeah.
So you look at the 3 guys that you got right there, and maybe you throw Wiggins in there, whatever. Then you try to figure out what other ancillary pieces you can put around them. I just don't see where they just gonna say bye-bye, because the main piece is Steph. And Steph getting old too. Steph ain't 22. You might as well keep all that right there for the next couple years.
I just think as Steph as your #1 guy moving forward, it's going to be tough for them to contend. And that's asking too much of a guy who's 35, who's an aging superstar to keep carrying a load like this if you want to go deep into the playoffs. Unless there's another superstar on the horizon that they can trade for, this Warriors as a core is not good enough anymore.
But it's so crazy because this same conversation I heard echoed in my ears a couple years ago. They're old, they're this, they're that, Klay's not the same. Then they went and won a championship.
They did.
They did.
It was actually 3 years ago.
They're a lot older. They're a lot older now.
I know, but I heard the same thing, though. I just heard it.
All right, before we proceed, I want to congratulate the Sacramento Kings because the Wicked Witch is dead. They had to go kill the Wicked Witch, man, and that was hard to do because the Wicked Witch went in there last year in Game 7 and destroyed them. And Steph hung 50 on De'Aaron Fox, who scored 16 points in that Game 7. This was huge for them because they did not have Malik Monk. They don't have Herter as one of their starters. And yet, I want to congratulate Keon Ellis, who I don't know that much about, but last night you talked about young legs, fresh legs, energy, juice.
He was dropping buckets.
He was everywhere. He had 3 blocks and 3 steals and was all over the floor.
I don't even think he was drafted.
He was undrafted out of Alabama, where he stayed for all 4 years. He was a senior starter.
Late bloomer. On
an Alabama team that lost in the first round of the NCAAs to 11-seed Notre Dame. So he averaged 12-6 for that team. He's 6'6", weighs 175 pounds, and he's got lightning in his legs because every time I watch him, it's just he's a quick jumper.
Yeah, blow on him, he'll fall.
Well, that's what happened. But he was just all over the floor last night and all over the Warriors. And then Keegan Murray did a Steph on Steph because if he's going to make 8 threes, you're probably going to lose in Sacramento.
He for sure looked like he wore a Warrior uniform in the past.
Yeah, if you drop 8 out of 13, it's going to be hard to win that game, and they didn't even come close to winning that game. All right, to Paul's point, I love Klay Thompson. I have really enjoyed watching him play, and that was hard on my eyes last night to have to sit and watch that, to 0 for 10 and 0 for 6 from 3, because you can make a strong case he is the second greatest shooter we have ever seen.
Without a doubt.
Because sometimes I just call it up for fun on the internet and watch the 37 points he scored in the 1 quarter, and they're all catch and shoots, just pew, 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 pew. It's just, I think he dribbled like 5 times in the quarter and scored 37 points. Paul, how hard is it to score 37 points in a quarter?
Dribbles.
It's ridiculous. That's how great a shooter he has been, but he looked old and slow last night. And by the way, in their glory days, he would take the toughest cover on the other team. He was always their primary defender on whoever it was. Well, it didn't look like it last night. So, Steph can only carry you so far when he's 6 feet 3 inches tall. I mean, there's only so much you can do. He's not 6'7" like Paul is. Or Kobe was, or, like LeBron 6'9", you can do more. You can have more influence on the game than a 6'3" point guard can, as great a shooter. I thought Steph played pretty well, but he was about the only small bright spot that they had.
I mean, he didn't get enough shots, turned the ball over.
Yeah, he didn't get enough shots.
Yep, he had 6
They harassed him all night long, Skip. They were not going to allow him. Not at all.
And Draymond just was quiet last night, to me. Sort of ironically
he was going to get
quiet.
kicked out early.
Yeah, I did too. Boy, he was going at the refs hard. They let him get away with a lot. But then he just kind of went quiet and didn't have much impact because he's an aging player also. So it just looks like age and attrition, man, that they just didn't get much from anybody.
So what do? I mean, do you keep Klay on a smaller deal? He didn't take the small deal. You keep Klay.
Yes.
So how do they get better from
because
here?
Klay, the problem that we, and you and me and Skip and everybody else, we're looking at Klay. We're not looking at compared to the rest of the league. We're looking at Klay. So when it becomes compared to the rest of the league, we go, it's not the same guy. By all standards, though, Klay actually had a decent season. But because it's Klay, we look at it and go, it's less than what it should be.
Yeah.
So you bring him back on a whatever, team-friendly deal. A little more than what Grayson Allen got. You give him $22 million a year. Grayson Allen's probably got 17 a year.
Yeah, 18.
18, 17. So you pay him a little bit more than that. I can't speak on his money if he'll accept it or not, but you pay him more than that. You bring him back. You maybe you move Chris Paul. Maybe you sign Chris Paul and then you move him.
They gotta let him go. He got an option, a player option, a team option, and they gotta let him go.
I'm saying, but can't you
re-sign him? You don't want to keep getting older.
I'm saying, can't you re-sign him?
Who's going to pick up Chris Paul? It's only one team
we'll take him.
That'll take him.
You know, I'll take everybody.
Maybe he can go back to Phoenix, but he's an aging player.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought
your backcourt is averaging 35 years old.
No, I thought if you signed him, you get.
I don't think he has value.
Some relief or something,
I don't think
just
he
let
has
him
that
walk.
type of value. I think
so you let him walk.
And you use the cap space. You get the mid-level exception. You sign Klay on a shorter per year deal.
Yep.
And then maybe you can work a trade with Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins. I don't know what happened to him. He was such a key for them last year. He's just not the same player. You know, he's dealt with some off-the-court issues on and off over the last couple of years.
Yep.
And so he just hasn't been the same player since they won it all. So you got to look at explore trading some of these guys if you want to get better.
I think
that's
they
the
would do
only
that.
option.
But it's hard to get rid of them three, man.
And then on the flip side, you got to be like, maybe Steph is going to retire after this contract. I mean, he is older. Do we even trade our young pieces? Do we want to even take the risk of doing that? Or we keep them, develop them? Moses Moody was a bright spot, yesterday. And Jonathan Kuminga has been a bright spot for them all year long. So do you risk moving them, knowing that your aging superstars are probably going to be retiring soon? Only if it nets you a player that you can say, okay, this is a player that can help push us back into contention again.
But it seems like the four key pieces to the Golden State Warriors organization, starting with the head coach and better yet, the three pieces, the head coach and the two players in Curry and Draymond, sound like they want Klay back.
Oh, they were
campaigning.
And Steve Kerr was just saying,
that's what I'm saying.
Desperately want him back.
So if that's the case, it feels like to me the organization going to have to do what them three want done.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I feel you should bring them back. I think you owe that to the loyalty of your program because now, as a player in this league, when you look at the Warriors, you be like, all right, they're a stand-up organization. I can go play for this type of organization because other players around the league talks. You don't just kick a guy who's built what they built with Klay Thompson and kick him to the side, especially since you were drafted here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's different.
You find a role for that dude.
Or Klay has to do some soul searching too. He can say, oh, I've won 4 championships. If somebody else come with an offer, a bigger offer, that can happen too.
Maybe.
Well, we'll take him in L.A.
Yeah. All right, so Keyshawn, I keep bringing up the most famous quote from your ex-coach, the coach who loved you the most. You are what your record says you are.
Right.
And that's who the Warriors actually were. In the end, they're exactly what their record said they were. They were the 10 seed, and they played like the 10 seed last night. That's right.
I give you that.
Yeah.
I give you that, but I also bounce off what Paul was saying yesterday. If you take them 10 games or so that Draymond missed, and you just slice that in half and give them whatever, 6 of those, 5 more of those, that's 50 games. They're not sitting in the 10th seed. They're sitting somewhere else.
Okay, if I know Joe Lacob and ownership the way I think I do, I'm with what you guys are heading for. They'll try to run it back because that's who they are. They're trying to cling to the past because the past was as glorious as you can ever get.
They just won a championship 3 seasons ago.
I got it. So they will reach back and try to blast from the past. And I will bet you if they do that, they'll be the 10 seed next year. I will bet you that it will not get any better than it was this year. They will not be a factor.
I don't know that to be the case.
Well, other teams are younger getting better because next year, you got to figure Houston's going to be better. Next year, you got to figure Memphis is going to be better with John Morant.
They got to be better, and Wemby's going to do something with it, right?
San Antonio, I'm not sure they want to run it back with this same squad without trying to make some adjustments if they want to be back in the top half of the playoff picture and not at the 10 seed anymore.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.